10:01, we'll call this meeting Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. And at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Mahler to give a prayer.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you during this Easter season to remember that all of our thoughts should be, oh, happy day. Jesus has washed our sins away. Lord, we come to you today to ask that you guide us as we transact business for the people of Wichita County. We'd ask that you give special protection and special care to our many warriors that are stationed around the world and even locally that are protecting our freedoms. We'd ask that you'd go with our first responders, our emergency personnel, and just ride on their shoulder and be with them, Lord, and give them the protection that they need to do their jobs on a daily basis. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings you bestow on us, this beautiful spring weather that we're having this week. We'd ask that you would give us the opportunity to spend time with friends and family and renew our spirit as we move forward. And most of all, Lord, forgive us of our sins. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Y'all join me in pledging allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge, please.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. At this time, I'd ask the court to take action on the consent agenda.
Judge, having reviewed the consent agenda, I would make a motion that we approve it as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mahler, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any comments or questions by anyone on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 is general business. Review and approve the emergency and regular bills for payment.
So moved, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to approve the emergency and regular bills for payment. Any comments or questions on the bills? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. At the request of Captain Johnson, due to some other things they have scheduled, Sheriff, we're going to move that item down, item number 3, which reads, discuss, consider, or take action to award bid for Sprague A&S jail shower renovations. Commissioner Harvey, you met with the Sheriff's team on that. You want to lead that off? Or?
I'm going to defer to Matt English.
Sure. Judge, Commissioners, thank you.
Oh, he did it.
As you know, we put a bid out for the jail showers. That thing bid a couple of weeks ago. We had 2 bidders on that. That was Nick Bratcher Construction and M&F Lydican Construction. That bid, low bidder was Nick Bratcher at $184,000, a little over that, for those showers, with an add alternate of around $24,000 for some additional valve work in the plumbing chases. We met with those folks just to make sure their bids were good. We actually had a meeting to get, because on their bid they had 150 days to complete that project. But in order to bid apples to apples, we kind of put some time things in there when they bid it. But what we want to do is after that, we work with the low bidder, got Prime Coat, who's also going to be the ones, the sub that's putting in this new shower system, to discuss that timeline in a little bit more detail. So we met with them Thursday afternoon, called them on a conference call, and had Nick Bratcher in, as well as Derek Metter and Lisa Johnson at our office to discuss that. What we've kind of determined in the timeline is that we can cut that timeline down to around half, if not a little bit more than half, by giving them an additional tank at a time. And in the bid, we actually had, they could only have 1 tank at a time, so that's 24 guys. But what they really wanted was obviously to get 2 tanks at a time, and in talking that over with the sheriff's department, they didn't see that was a problem at all. So they can now get to a tank, get actually 2 tanks, that's a total of 4 showers in around 7 to 8 days. And we've got a total of 8 tanks. So, you know, week's time here, so you're looking at 4, plus the additional plumbing work and other things that are going on. You're looking 6 weeks plus for them to work on that project and get that completed, as opposed to 150 days.
Matt,
So,
how did that impact our dollar figure?
we don't know that yet. They are still working on the cost on the prime coat side, but, you know, from the inmate side, I think what we were talking about, $40 a day times 24 guys times 2 tanks. So that's, I think it was roughly around $14,000 a week. And so any time that we can cut out is going to save the county a lot of money. So we're still working as far as the cost is concerned, from the savings on prime coat side, from having to come out and remobilize every couple of weeks. Now they don't have to do it. They only have to mobilize twice. So they're only mobilizing half the amount of time that they had to have before. But we don't know what that exact cost is at this time. But there will be a savings to the county on that.
And some of that savings offset though, but we
Oh,
knew
yeah.
that was a cost anyhow, so,
Right,
but,
right.
okay.
Questions?
Do we wait till we have firm numbers?
Well, we know, I mean, this is, what you have right now is worst case, so it's not going to be over that. So the only thing would be at the end of the project, there'd be a change order for cost savings back to the county.
But
What we're anticipating is them cutting their mobilization cost and demobilization cost in half.
And I don't know
And
what
Matt's-
that is.
Matt's working with them
Yeah.
on that.
but do we have a calculation that shows the prisoner cost?
Prisoner cost, yes.
Okay.
Well, with those kind of numbers, what, in 10 weeks, that's 140 grand, so
Yep.
getting up close to the cost of the project.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's no other way to, I mean, we've got to work around it.
Right, right. But what you have today is to approve the base bid, which actually the base bid has some work. The way that the plumbing lines work in there, we've got a tempered line that serves the showers and the combination fixtures.
Yeah.
And that's a loop. And so what's going to happen is on the very start of this project, we've got to shut down those showers for around 8 hours for them to get in and add a manual ball valve to each connection off of that line. That's the first thing that will happen. And then when that's done, then we can shut off the tanks as need be. Now the alternate to that is to go in and add another set of ball valves at each location at the request of the sheriff's department, so that then they can remotely turn those things on and off. That's what that is for.
Well, we've got, Lisa, what, 24 out of county right now? Is that the number? Something like that.
We have 2 housing units shut down right now
Okay.
that are open.
So we will need to do another 24 additional to start the project, or is that gonna,
If we leave the 2 housing units open that we have,
Okay.
we should not have to ship anybody out unless our population goes up.
so we're already set then to
Yes, sir.
proceed? Good.
Yes, sir.
And about this ball valve scenario on the plumbing, I mean, to have individual ball valves to shut off those deals would require a guard to go down the pipe chase, turn those off.
Yes.
On ship work, however that happens.
And we simply have an additional motorized valve and actuator, so that when they walk in the chase, on one side is, the 8-1 through 8-4 tanks, and they can just off. The other side, off, and then that's it, and they can move on.
What was the cost difference, Matt, between those two?
Well, it's an ad for the 24,260 to add those valves.
When you say, that's only the showers, that's not the toilets and the sinks, so that time period we're redoing that, Sheriff, will it be necessary to move anybody out while you just have the showers cut off and they still have lavatory and commode?
Well, they won't though. That's the thing, because
Oh.
all of that's served off of that loop.
Okay,
Everything will be shut down for approximately 8 hours, from 8 to 5, so they can get in there and do that.
okay.
It's moving along a good bit quicker than we thought. Is that
Yeah.
gonna be adequate drying time? I know that was the big.
Right, well, when we talked to them about that, they said that roughly around 36 hours to dry out a tank. And especially when we isolate those valves from the start,
Right.
they can immediately shut down. I mean, they've already got 2 tanks that are empty that'll be dry, and so that will cut down on that time too. But they said roughly around 24, 36 hours to dry out and then they'll take, readings and make sure that it's dry out. They'll put fans on it, things like that.
Does that application bring any air quality issues?
There are
We have to
minor ones,
isolate.
but Nick, the contractor, already has in his bid to put in a enclosure around those showers.
We'll isolate it.
And not only that, the grinding process, when they grind that SpectraGlaze block that we've got in there now, they have a vacuum on that grinder
Okay.
that filters out with HEPA filters and filter out about 95% of the particulates in the air.
Which
And
will
then
help
take
us
that-
on our HVAC. That
Exactly.
keeps it from
Exactly.
going into that deal. Okay. Very good.
Okay.
Come in.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Commissioner Harvey, you have a recommendation then?
I recommend we accept the bid as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to accept the bid from Bratcher Construction on the shower project. Any other comments? Sheriff, anything we're overlooking from y'all?
No, that's it. I got to commend the staff for all the work they put into this to try to keep this thing afloat in lieu of knowing how many inmates we're going to send out and move them around, get them in and out, get the workers in, and security of the jail at the same time. We've got a tremendous command staff that's taking care of the issues and on top of it every day. And I just want to say publicly that it's a lot of work. People don't realize what goes into it. A lot of offices in the county, they turn the lights off at 5 o'clock. This old jailhouse can't do that. Y'all know what it's like, and it's really hard on our employees right now too. We've got a lot of employee issues because of the overtime and the amounts of people that are leaving. A lot of it's because of the facility and the mandatory overtime we're having to do. So I just want to say that thank y'all for y'all understanding what we're having to go through, and we're trying to get it done all and taken care of.
We appreciate the effort. Matt?
Judge, I just want to clarify, you're going to approve that plus the alternate as well?
Commissioner Harvey, is that in the alternate in this?
That was for the,
Is that for the automatic
Yes.
valve?
yeah.
My motion does not include that.
Okay. Do we deal with that separate, or do you all?
I'm not sure that we need that.
I thought that was going to be to help us keep the humidity down to where the sheriff could shut them off at certain hours of the day. And
It's not a timer. What's in there now is not like a timer of any sort of fashion. It's
Right.
just simply just an on-off toggle.
And it's going to curtail the water usage.
Yeah.
Instead of you got 24 inmates in there all day long, letting the shower run and run and run.
Well, maybe I misunderstood, Sheriff.
No, you're.
What I
there's two
understood
options.
were we were gonna put in the ball valves that we could walk down a pipe chase and manually turn off.
Right,
That's in the original bid.
right.
And then the $24,000 is to put air actuators on those valves so that we can just flip a toggle switch and close the valves. And I'm not sure that we need to spend $24,000 to do that when we can just walk down the pipe chase and close the valve. It's a 1-inch ball valve?
And my thought is, Sheriff, that, we may be making changes relatively quick. So if it would just be money that we would never recapture if we went to the second stage and the more deluxe version of turning those valves off, where if we had them manually, we could leave them off or turn them off and on as the department or the sergeant or whatever demanded it to be, so the schedule.
Well, if we left it in the manual mode, we could try and see if that's going to accomplish the goal. I mean, we think that's going to be a good management tool, but within, 30, 60 days, we'd have a better handle on it, and then if we need to come back in and do the automatic, and all that's going to depend on the time frame that we're talking about on that facility, and we'll know more about that in the next several months as to how long we're going to be there and whether that's going to be a long-term deal. So I think it's a good plan, but let's see if it'll work before we.
Okay.
so you're leaving it out.
I'm leaving it out.
Okay.
Because your second still?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Judge, this is a major step forward.
Yes, sir.
This is huge to getting us where we need to be.
Yeah, if we can just get the roof.
Yeah, we'll get that next.
Thank y'all. Okay, item number 2 is receive quarterly interpretation from Wichita County Ag Extension Office. We have that Mr. David Graff here.
Morning, David.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is just kind of do a quarterly report, talk a little about, we gave you some handouts for 2015, what they call our outcome summaries, and so I'm not gonna go through that, you can kind of glance through that. The three sections that we worked on was on water. If you remember in 2015, we didn't know it was gonna be a wet year when we started that, and so we had a lot of planning and things that did that. I have comments still that people, I think, have really decided we've got to be very interested and stay focused on trying to conserve water. So we want to continue to work on that. Also had a group that, a section that we called Let's Go Eat Grow, which was for our trying to develop sustainable resources in that, specifically trying to work with young kids. And so Pretty Foundation helped donate a big chunk for that. And so we're working on that still. And then also another one is on ag and risk management, just because of the importance to what we do in agriculture here and the downturn that they've got now in commodity prices in comparison to the cost that it still takes to go in. So those are some of the things that we're still working on all of those, but this is kind of a report for this past year. We like to have one of our volunteers. As y'all well know, volunteers is what drives Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. And one of the groups that we work really close with is our master gardeners, do a great job. And so I've asked our president, Joanne Plaxco, just kind of do a brief update on what they've been working on there. And they've really been doing some good things.
All right, David, thank you. And once again, I want to tell you, I've heard good comments about the farm show, not only from the standpoint of great participation by the vendors and all there, but the amount of CEUs that people were able to get was really good. And as Commissioner Mahler told me, he said, well, it rained and everybody had to go someplace, so that helped too.
Good timing.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Judge Gossam and Commissioners, please talk about Wichita County Master Gardeners.
Great.
I just feel like this is a wonderful group that tries to educate in what we do in our county. I just want to mention this. For some of you might not know, Wichita County Master Gardeners began in 1993
Wow. Okay.
with 6 members. We now have 21 members. Unfortunately, the drought had a heavy problem with our people that lived here. Most of us are retired, so when the drought continued on, many of our co-members were like, they jumped ship and they moved to another place that had more water, so to speak. But the brave ones stayed here, and we continued with our work. When the Art and Kemp Center asked us to take a room rather than a booth at the Home and Garden Show, we eagerly accepted the challenge. And in our room, I'm just going to read because I'll forget to mention some of the things. We set up displays on water harvesting, composting, how to make your own composting, seed saving, herbs, raised gardens, to container gardening. This year we kind of enlarged and we put canning and dehydrating, and even had chicks in our little chicks in our room to show how to raise your own produce. While we were there, we probably passed out a minimum of 1,300 pieces of literature. In fact, the first day we ran out of literature.
Wow.
And we probably had a good 25 to 3,000 people that went through our room. You never walked in that room that people were not at all of the displays. The one thing that I observed while I was in there that I was pleased, our ages. People said, well, what age? We had ages from 20 probably to 90. We also had Hispanic, Asian, African American, Caucasian, everybody wanted to know something about it. We were pleased that we had, like, even the Vernon Junior College come and asking us questions. We had people that were maybe a single mom with a GED wanting to put out a few tomatoes in her yard, How do I do this? To doctors, to master's degrees, or professors. So we don't have a limit of who we try to work with. I would like to say, Master Gardeners was into water harvesting long before the drought came along. We were into composting long before. So that is our purpose, is to educate our county. What we learn, we want you to learn. It's called passing the torch. One thing that I would like to say before I close, that kind of every Master Gardener, whether you go through our program or you're at home, that we have in common, a beautiful yard or a beautiful garden have one thing in common. We all have dirt under our fingernails. I would encourage anyone to come to the farmers market. This summer it begins in June, and once a month we set up a booth down there just to educate people. I'm just proud of them, and I hope to see y'all at farmers market. Yes.
I have a question. Would the program be interested in taking a look at a project that this court has coming before it on the parking lot spaces to, one, meet what the city code is for that, and then to maybe try some different things that would be native to us? Or I remember when I was younger that at the Impex Center, when the Extension Service was housed there, there were gardens in front of the entrance, and that the Master Gardeners had put those in, and they were native to the region, and they were fantastic.
Of course, that one garden, it is still there. And if we do anything, because it did meet with our area climate, I've always said when you pick up something and it says that this is adaptable to full sun, well, they're not talking about Wichita Falls sun, we're talking about right now.
More than full.
So we have a roof that has that problem.
It's not the same. That garden is still in front, and if you've ever been down there, it's massive. If we do anything, we have to go down and thin out and cut back, and it's been very easy in a way to take care of. As for your question, we probably would, and we'd love to toss it around in our meeting. We do meet the first Tuesday of every month, and we try to gain a little bit more knowledge. Of course, we're through the Texas A&M program, so we really adhere to that. But yeah, I think they would be eager to hear and see if we could do that and what we might advise. We always tell people that ask us to take them, we're not your gardeners. We are to educate, and we will help you start off. We just want people to be involved, to learn to do some of this themselves.
Even in an advisory role.
Sure,
would
sure.
be-
And that's why
would be
we
huge,
love to do
yeah.
it. We actually, I don't know, David, this is longer than you asked me to speak, but we do, like for instance, at Notre Dame, we have young junior master gardeners. Every year we put a garden out there for them to learn. We support the Smith Community Garden, and some of us have places out there, and we just try to work with them, what will work. We also work with, like I say, the farmers market. We work with the Women's Faith Refuge, which they have gardens now out there that's wonderful, and they have water harvesting out there. So we try to work with many groups so that they can, not only have the gardens that they need, but do it properly for, again, our county. So we do a lot of advisory. We don't always know the answers, but I will say one thing I'm about proud of the gardeners. They will find the answer. And they don't neglect getting back to a person and trying to get the answers they're seeking. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Seabees with the Shepherd Air Base has been a great help in volunteers to help actually do the work to get some of those done. So that's something too we need to do.
Thank you. They do. We look for manual work to help us. We actually, because we're getting a little bit older, we say, anyone wants to become a master gardener, which we're looking to have another program for that. because we're getting older, they're probably going to have to go through an exercise program so that they can do the work and we can advise. Because as we're getting, but yes, we have resources to be able to help in big jobs. We do.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, I might just add, and I appreciate the farm show was a huge success. The CEU, the ability to go in there and get current with your CEUs in a single setting or a 2-day setting is just a tremendous asset. And many of you know, and many of you don't know, the agricultural industry right now is right behind the oil industry. I mean, this deal is in bad shape. And Extension is not only about growing this stuff, because we've got marketing plans going on. David, we've got a meeting tomorrow night. We're having some commodity brokers in to talk about the world outlook and where we're headed in providing that service to our area farmers and ranchers, because agriculture is going through a pretty tough time right now. It's tough out there and going to be. David, we appreciate the job you're doing and appreciate all your committees do. They work hard. So, you bet.
Thanks, David. Okay, item number 4 is discuss, consider, take action on district clerk's request to increase the salaries of her personnel. Ms. Flores.
First, I'd like to thank you for allowing me on this agenda. I know all of y'all are tired of hearing from me. The few information I just want to go over is to first recap. In 2015, 3 departments saved money and gave raises. That was the county clerk, the district clerk, and the tax office, and we stayed within that budget. That equaled out to 29 people of the 64 that received raises. 35 other persons received raises in 2015, which exceeded their budgets. Out of the 65 persons, 11 did not receive raises, which was 10 in my office and 1 in the CMO's office. But that has changed because there was a mistake made during budgets. So 2 of my deputies did receive a 2% raise, and 1 of my deputies received $3.97 per check, which was $130 a year raise, and then my bottom person did receive the 7% to bring her to the new low. And I know the reason we did not receive the raise was because of a yeah that came out of my mouth. I would like to know of the other 53 people that received raises if they were given the same ultimatum, that if you receive a raise in 2015, you will not receive a raise in 2016. Another point I'd like to cover is the department budget percentage. I went over that, and there was 3 departments that didn't receive at least a 4% raise, which was Department 405, Veteran Service. They received 0.03%. Department 429, which is the district attorney, received 2.69% raise, and then my department 430 received 0.34% raise. Can't discuss the other 2 departments because I don't know what happened there, but as I said before, the reason we only received 3.4% raises because basically 10 of my people did not receive raises. If you looked at my research that I handed to y'all, the highs are, there was 8 departments that received high raises, which is Department 225 received 442.6% raise. Department 409, which was the non-departmental, received 135.3% raise. Department 412, which is IT, received 70.5% raise. Department 425, which is court administrator, received 42.2%. And then the precincts, precinct 1 received 30.7, precinct 2 received 35.7, precinct 3 received 31%, and then precinct 4 received 44.6%. And all other departments besides the 3 I mentioned earlier received between 4 and 15%. I don't know if Willie was supposed to give me his research or not, but he did, and he did a very good job, and I appreciate Willie's work on that. It looks like when we deleted a position and allocated that money elsewhere, By Willie's research, we left 63.3% of what I'm requesting for a raise on the table, and which means if it is approved for the 10 of my deputies to receive raises, 8 of them to receive the 4%, and then the 2 that already received the 2%, if they were allowed to receive the 2%, what I'm really looking at is the county to pick up since we did leave the 68% on the table, I'm looking for the county to pick up the 32%, which would come out to roughly $3,200 this year. And I would like to, since most of you do not know what our office does, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Briley, who would like to speak on behalf of our office of what our office does and give you a little more detail on at a customer side of what our office does, if you will allow that.
Okay, you'll have 5 minutes.
I'm going to get it done in 3, Judge.
Good. I'm not going to give you your 2 back.
Police Court. I'm Steve Briley. I came to Wichita County in '81. For those that you remember, when Sheriff Callahan was sued, Dusty Fillmore and I defended the county on behalf of Judge Callahan, which worked out well for the county. And then when the sheriff's deputies filed a suit to get a pay raise with a statutory component to it, with my partner Harold White, we represented the sheriff's deputies in that lawsuit. So I've been on both sides of the county with their business and litigation. In litigation, you have to have a competent district clerk's office or the system doesn't work at all. Because unlike other states, in Texas, the district clerks have to prepare the processes by which that litigation goes forward. A citation, a writ of attachment, a writ of execution. Whatever processes come out of the court is done by the folks in Ms. Flores' office, and they do a competent job. The world changed a little bit for them in January of last year, in January of 15, because we went to this electronic filing system now. So before, you could have somebody come in who knows nothing about the office at all and say, here's a document, it's got a number on it, there's a file cabinet, they've got numbers on them, take the document, stick it in the file cabinet. You can't do that anymore. You have to have competent people on the computers that run that, because they not only have to issue the process, they have to maintain the files, and then if there's an appeal, they have to prepare the clerk's record by the Texas Supreme Court rules to get those records to those courts. Many, many years ago, Wichita Division of the federal system was one of the first divisions to go electronic filing. So in the federal system, it's been around for a long time, but it hasn't been in the state system. Several years ago, this lady and I had some litigation in which the clerk's office, I think in Dallas, hit the wrong button and the file disappeared. There was no file. The Fifth Circuit, of course, has a great deal of power, and so they ordered everybody to get together, get your files out, and reconstruct the file under the court's tutelage. So Humpty Dumpty, in that case, got put back together, but you can imagine the time and expense and consternation if those things go wrong. So they issue the process, maintain the files. They also have to do this electronically. And then finally, I want to say this, for about 10 years, most of my work was in other counties, not really Wichita County. I can't tell you the number of times that both I and my staff would say, gee, I wish we were dealing with the Wichita District Clerk's office as opposed to wherever we were, because these folks care about you, and that if you've got a problem, they'll talk to you like a human being, and they will get something done. It may not be to your satisfaction, but they'll get back and get the work done. So I would urge you, if you can, to stand by these folks because they're competent, they're efficient, and they care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then
You got
in
this, boy.
closing, the only thing I would like to add is the reason I'm so desperate to try to get this done now is that I know July's approaching, and July 1st, the court administrator's office their ultimatum was to come up with job descriptions for their 4%. It is very easy to come up with a job description, so I'm sure that office will be able to do that. And so July 1st, I'm assuming that she'll come before the Commissioner's Court, show you the job descriptions, and then she'll be receiving her 4%. So that's why I'm so desperate to try to get this done now. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Flores, just to address a few of the things, because you, go ahead and sit down. It's fine. You gave your first question, I can't remember what was your first question, something about, my answer to that was no, whatever you had was.
My answer, the first and only time when we discussed me giving up a position, the first
You
time
asked whether other departments were given that ultimatum.
the ultimatum of, okay, if we give you a raise now, you don't get one in 2016.
No, I don't recall that at all, because that discussion wouldn't have been germane to what was being done. So the answer to that is no. The other thing, you listed off some incredible increases without recognizing that there were considerable personnel changes in some of those offices. You mentioned the large increase in the salary line in Road and Bridge.
Yes.
Okay, that was because personnel were added, because we received a very large grant to do highway work, road work in a certain period of time. We also had a flood come along, which 75% of that money for that will be reimbursed. So that was the reason for the change in Road and Bridge like it was. Some of the other offices added. Now, you also mentioned, and Mr. Wall, you may want to help me, that 66% of the salary you returned was not used up, or?
That was by what I received from Willie's research.
Well, was that dated, let's see, February 5th?
Yes.
Well, I read that all but $66.65 was used.
Well, he put that if you would, it can be justified by justified because of the amount of $740 for insurance, and then $66, which would come up to $806 a month, and the $967 per year. It says this amount of 68.3% of the amount required to meet the district clerk's request. So.
Right, but in your return, you're talking about benefits, not salary. Then the other thing, you noted, you said there was an error. The budget, I reviewed the budget figures. The budget figures were correct as posted for the monthly and the annual salary. There was a transposing of numbers onto your personnel that you caught early. What I'm concerned is you're going to run out of salary line in those two positions before the year's out. You're going to come up $600 short. Those are set by line in your department. And you're the one that authorized the amount of pay, because all department heads had up to those approved amounts. You could have had less, you just couldn't have more. But now, you've got a person that's now going into 4 months of an increased amount that's going to catch up in the last month of the year.
So you're planning on changing the budget?
No, I'm not changing the budget. You pointed out an error in the salary line in what was being paid without going back and correcting it and looking at your budget and saying, wait a minute, that's wrong.
I spoke with 2 people.
Well,
and it was not changed.
Okay. I'm going to say it probably should have been, because you're going to be, those aren't approved for that amount or without a modification. Now, you will probably have money left over, but that can't be changed unless, that was in your salary items. Otherwise, if you have money left over in your maintenance and operation, that's going to take a budget amendment to change that. So, there's a point where you should have probably come back to the court and said, this is what's happened. I mean, you have that, to me, that's a responsibility of you as an office head to do that. So you are putting all of us in a rather awkward position by not getting that corrected in January when that started to happen. We have had that happen before, and the people had to pay that money back. It was set up as a deduction to reduce that salary to bring that back in place. So that's something we're going to have to deal with. because it won't just solve itself. It has to be adjusted, because you have maximum salary lines you're going to exceed.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I did run the statement of expenditures for the current year for the district clerk. And in Patty's defense, and I haven't gone back and reviewed how the mistake was made and so on and so forth, but current expenditure, our statement says that for 4 pay periods, the expense per biweekly expense is $13,626.65. That's 4, so for 22 more, she has almost $300,000 remaining in the budget, so it comes out to $13,618.25. So it's almost a wash in that salary line now. So one way or the other, she's basically covered on the current salaries. So
If it exceeds that line amount, Mr. Wall, then
it's a very small difference between.
it's $600 for each one of them.
618, so about $9 per pay period short.
It's still going to exceed that line item.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Somewhere that has to be addressed in the budget.
Well, again, if you have lapses in the positions, we cover it. So by the end of the year, she, considering her budget, she'll probably be covered.
She'll have the money, but the line item stands.
You're correct.
Okay, thank you. That's my point. It wasn't whether there's someone retires, leaves, whatever, you had time and salary left there, we approved per person a line item budget. And that's, what everyone is restricted to. They can pay less than that. They can't pay more than that unless they get a budget amendment. And that will have to be addressed. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
I'll request that to be on the agenda.
You can. Okay. Anyone else on the court have anything?
Judge, I put together a spreadsheet this morning just because the emphasis had been on, Patty came to me several times comparing her departments to the county clerk and to the maintenance department. And we had worked with those spreadsheets, and I just wanted to inform the court this morning that the district clerk per hour makes $2 on average in their staff line more than both the county clerk and the maintenance department does. And I provided a spreadsheet to everyone for that line item.
And that's pulling out the elected officials, isn't it?
That is correct. That takes the elected officials out of the position and just has the staff average inside.
You do have a part down here for the department heads, though, where they're included.
I do. I list the salaries of the department heads below, but the current overall hourly rate, you'll denote on the right-hand column.
When you thought, I went back and looked at your difference in 2016 budget versus 2015 started budget. And for your department, if you leave out your salary, which in my comparisons, I would have gone through those, left out the elected officials, because that salary, if you've got an office of 3, skews that. If you've got an office of 27, then it doesn't have the same effect on it. But if I looked at your average raise for your department was 8.15%, and your raises range from 5.4 to 10.7. And then if you go back and add in the 2 clerks that got the additional money, they actually had 12.6% each in that, if you counted in there. So compared to the other things you were saying, other than the fact their raise came March 1st of 2015, they fared as well compared to many other raises in the majority. But the effort, and I want to be sure the effort was to try to look at and bring some uniformity to similar positions within the county, because there was such disparity. Your office still runs above that. We've made some headways in equalizing that. I'd ask you and 2 other departments to try to work that out the year before. You all came back with percentage raises. One of the departments came back with actually a restructuring that was viable. But when that didn't happen, then I took that on last year, and we tried to come up with that. You came in with your deal in February of 2015. We agreed with it and brought it in rather than have you wait until 2016, because you weren't sure you wanted to eliminate the position if there wasn't going to be some immediate reward for it. Honestly, Ms. Ford, I think we've tried to work with you a lot. The timing's just not the agreeable thing. Anyone else?
Well, Judge, I think this points out why it is that we like to have these discussions at budget time and not other than that. And that's always been a concern, because we do get into situations like this. And in my mind, the discussion is not whether or not there was a raise, but when was it? The raise was there, the deal was made, and I'm not real sure why we're having this discussion, to tell you the truth.
Well, I was hoping it might maybe add some clarity, at least inform people a little more. No one's doubting the very important work your office does, nor that you've got good people in there. But there has to be a point that we draw a line, and that becomes arbitrary, as Justice Holmes said a long time ago. Until you do that, everything's fine. But, I feel like you were dealt with fairly and openly and reasonably.
And is it more than probable that Mitzi the court administrator's office will get that 4% raise in 2016?
Well, okay, to get you the other half of that, there's 2 things they were required to do. You've only touched one of them. That's already been done. That was to write job descriptions for all people in office, including the new personnel that were added. That's been done. Those have been put together. They're lengthy. They're good. Now, the next thing they have to do is have by July 1st is they're supposed to write an operational procedure for the office. That's the big elephant in the room to do that. But those raises will not take place until both of those are brought and presented and accepted by the court. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just would like to make a couple comments about our office being treated fairly. We came in 2013, beginning of 2014, I'm not quite sure, the end of 2013 I believe is when it was though, that we came and asked to give up a position and be given raises as other offices had done. At that time we were told no, even though other offices were doing it. Not only were we told no, but another office was allowed to do the same thing after we were told no. So right there we weren't being treated fairly.
Who did that?
Precinct.
The precinct, after we were told no. Then we come to this part where everyone else in the county is getting a raise except for 10 individuals in our office and 1 individual in the CMO, based on the fact that we were given raises in 2015, when many other employees were given raises in 2015, but we were the only ones being singled out saying that we can't have that additional money. Okay, that's another example of us not being treated fairly. Okay, so you can't say that our office is being treated fairly. It's continually happening that we come and request to do the same things that other offices have requested to do and are told no. Not only that, but personally as an employee of Wichita County, my clerk has asked that I be given raises at different times, and I've been told multiple times that I don't supervise enough people, and that I haven't been here long enough. I've been here almost 15 years and I supervise 10 people. However, this year, there were 10 other individuals that were brought up to my pay that have not been here near as long as I have, that do not supervise as many people as I do. But yet, anytime that my department head has asked for me to be given a raise, that's the excuse that she's been given. So now our office isn't treated fairly. You can't tell us to compare ourselves to other offices because other offices don't do the same thing that we do. Just because we have a title of chief deputy or just because I'm the supervisor over people doesn't mean I do the same thing that another chief deputy does in their office.
Yeah, Nikki, I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Many people given raises in 2015, that is not a true statement. A few people were given raises in 2015. And you were given a very good raise towards the latter part of 2015. So you begin to make a larger salary than the people that had to wait until January to receive that raise. You were given a raise. At the request of your director, we raised you to the amount that no questions asked. This court brought you to that pay level that she requested of you. So I'm not following you there at all, Nikki. But secondly, I want to talk about supervision in your department because that's the one that concerns me the worst. We have continually asked the IT department to look at the activity that your office has on the internet, Facebook, news media, shopping sites, and it continues to be extremely out of line. Are you the supervisor over those people that
Yes, I am the supervisor over those people, and I can tell you that the work in our office gets done.
I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying, do we have too many people that they have much free time on their hands?
Someone else ran it for the entire county, and were we in the top 100 of people doing things wrong?
I don't have. I'm talking about your
department.
department because the issue here is we're overworked and we're underpaid. But that's not the case, Nikki.
My issue is not, I'm not sitting here saying I'm overworked. My issue is, are we being treated fairly like what's being stated? And we're not.
I totally disagree to that. You make today $2 more per hour as a department than the county clerk. The county clerk should be in the one here and saying, why am I not paid the same as the girls? My staff paid the same as the girls in the in the district clerk's office.
Why are we compared to another office?
Are we going to compare others or are we not? Because you just did that.
Absolutely.
If we're going to leave the discussion in your office, let's leave it in your office. If we're going to compare others, let's compare them all. We got to do one or the other. And you're not doing that. We're on this side, we're on this side. Let's choose our sides. Are we going to compare or are we going to talk about our office as a
If the district attorney's office has pay increases that skew a percentage number, that in no way, shape, form, or fashion has any comparison to the district clerk's office. It's totally separate and apart. So I'm missing the concept that many people were given raises in 2015. I disagree.
People were given raises.
That was not the case.
January 1st, 2015, there were multiple people who were given raises. There were people afterwards that were not a large number, but there were, in 2015, starting January 1st, yes, there were 65 people that were given raises in Wichita County.
Out of 500 people, Nikki, that's not very many. So many is a different concept than a few people were giving out of the total county employees. But secondly, most importantly, you're already making more than comparable departments to you in the kind of functions that you do.
I'm already making more.
No, you make the same. You make the same as other chief deputies in your office. And why should it be any different than that?
Well, then why aren't we all paid what the chief deputy is paid in the tax office? If we were going to level out chief deputies, why didn't we do that?
I can't answer that.
Neither can I.
The tax office and the county clerk's office have both eliminated personnel. Ms. Bohannon, you've reduced your staff by 4 or more in the time. Okay. Mr. Smythe, I know even prior to your taking office, there was a reduction of 3 part-time people that worked year-round. Those 3 positions were eliminated, and then you have eliminated positions and then asked for 1 back due to some change in the operation in your office.
Our department judge is 5 positions smaller than it was in 1998.
Okay.
Our precinct is 2 positions smaller than it was in 1998, and we never gave adjustment raises for losing positions. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, Ms. Flores came to this court with a proposal. She proposed it. We didn't propose it. We actually didn't want to do it. We wanted to wait till 2016. She said, no, this is what I want to do for my people, and that's exactly what we did, and that's why I'm confused as to why we continue to have this discussion. We did exactly what we agreed to. Hattie, you laid it on the table. We agreed to it, and now all of a sudden it's not what we wanted after all. I'm sorry, but...
Well, it was because of the ultimatum that I didn't know about. I didn't know that ultimatum was going to be given until that day in court. And
I don't guess I know the ultimatum.
Without no raise, that would
no
be
raise for
carried through.
2016. That was the first time I heard it was in court that day, and I was like, yeah.
But we
and
did
what
it.
else was I supposed to say?
I mean, that's when we take action.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't understand this.
That's what you say.
Yeah,
I was like,
Yeah.
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 The
Let's table
argument,
this a week and let's look at
That
it.
letter was, I mean, that word out of my mouth, I didn't know what else to say at that time. It was, yeah.
And that's what you said.
That's what I said.
Well, what are we to go on then? I mean...
Well, I wish I wasn't given that ultimatum, especially at the last second. I wish I would have known about it beforehand and I could have prepared more for it, or said, well, okay, girls, evidently people are going to be receiving anywhere between 10 and 15% raise. Do you want 10 to 15% raise, or do you take a chance at only getting the 4%, or do you want to go by what I proposed to give them, which was 5, 5, 5, 7.
Patty,
7,
that's
10,
not
10.
correct. That the numbers you say about 15% or those were not raises given as a standard in this county. 4% was the option. So you could have foregone any increases in 2015. Everybody in your department would have received the 4% pay increase, and they would have been behind the curve compared to where they are at today. That's the part that makes no sense to me. If this court would have said, no, Patty, we're not going to do that, we're going to wait and do it with the majority of people in the county and give you a 4% pay increase, your people would be making less. But that one raise was not good enough. You've come back to the table and said, these people need 4% in addition to what we've already given them. I want to be very, very clear about that. You were not denied 2016 raises. In my mind, you were given them 4 to 5 months earlier than everybody else received them. That's the way I perceive it in my mind, and I want to be perfectly clear about that.
Which is more net dollars.
That's just, we're never going to agree on it. I already knew that. I believe, 65 people were given raises in 2015, and 10, 11 people were denied raises for 2016 because they were given raises.
Patty, that's not a true
We're never
comparison.
going to agree on it. I mean, like I said, I was kind of here to right a wrong, but I can't right a wrong when I think I'm right and y'all think you're right. I mean,
But we agreed with you and did what you asked us to do. That's the stumbling block of this whole thing. We didn't propose it.
Can we undo it?
Lay it on the table.
Can we undo it?
We can undo it. We could undo the 16 raises and give the 15 and give the 16.
And then give us at least the 9% that the
We
county
give you the
clerk received.
4% like we gave everybody else.
Like we did everybody else.
The department head.
Is that what you want?
The county clerk, I think received 9%. They received 2% in 2015, beginning in 2015, and then they received 7%, which equals 9%. So only 2 of my girls would come out on the opposite end of that because they received 10%.
Are you confusing me? Are
The
you
county clerk
taking
received-
everybody that had a pay adjustment in 2015 Is that what you're doing? You said
I'm saying
2015.
if you want to undo, I get to hire a person back. My girls would go back to making what they were, plus they'd get at least 9%
No,
raise.
the deal was 4%.
But the county clerk received 2%
But
in
we're not
2015.
comparing offices. We're
And
talking
then
about your
they-
office.
And then they received 7%, so the county clerk received 9%
And,
for
and
2016.
Patty, the issue is, they're still making $2 less per hour than your department after they received 9. The whole purpose of that was to try to create some equality.
Which I
in
don't
what these
understand how
girls
you can
and guys
level
do.
positions when you don't know what offices do.
We know what you do.
Okay, do you know what those other offices do?
No, that's why you
Okay.
were going in the right direction by saying, we're, as a department head, we're gonna give you X amount of dollars and you decide where to allocate it, who gets what. You were going in the right direction for that.
We do that because you know who your star players are.
Yeah.
We don't know who your star players are.
But Patty, you brought that plan to this group, and we approved your plan. Everybody else did that, they just did it 4 months later. That's the part I'm totally confused about.
We're never gonna agree. I mean,
But
I see
just
it
so
my way,
I'm
you
clear,
see it your way.
you think they should have received the increase?
4% raise, yes, I do.
No, I'm talking about the large increase that they received in 2015, plus the additional 4%. That would have been, in your mind, the appropriate thing for us to have done.
Yes,
Even though we agreed, we weren't going to do that. And you agreed to it.
because I was hit with that at the last second, I went,
Hey, all you got to do is say,
Yeah.
table this till next week, I need to do some more research. It's done all the time. If you didn't understand, if you don't understand, you don't agree to it.
okay, I made a mistake there.
Well, you got rid of a position that apparently you didn't need.
No,
Because
it was gonna be, I even told you at that time, that if this did not go through, I still would not be hiring that position except for part-time. That would have been reduced to part-time, because with e-filing, the filing in our office has substantially decreased. So I said,
And-
instead of hiring full-time, I would only hire a part-time.
And at the end of the day, when we reduce positions, what percentage of that goes back to the taxpayer?
Well, evidently 68% did.
No, that's
No,
not the
that's
number I've
not the
got.
number at all.
I mean, I'm just asking the question. I mean, it's really nice when we can compensate somebody for doing a nice job. We've done some of that in the past. I don't know if we'll be able to do it again in the future, but at the end of the day, why didn't it go back to general fund to the folks that are paying the bills to start with? Or at least a part of it, and that's something I think we've got to think about.
Okay. Is there any action to be taken on this item? Thank you all. Item number 5 is discuss, consider, take action to approve a quote from Galls in the amount of $5,434.92 for 7 tactical vests and 1 tactical outer vest plus shipping to be paid from 100.5 60.3453 public safety equipment and 100.5 60.3602 fuel are from appropriate lines as determined by the county auditor. Sheriff?
Chief chose to work on this project, but essentially it's to replace or give some vests to some of the newer deputies. As we had some deputies leave, we have other ones come in as deputy sheriffs, and not everybody's built the same way. That's the
Really?
fact about it. And Chief, you got anything you need to talk about?
Well, the increase in price, of course, is one of the big factors, and that's one reason why it's a little more expensive than it has been. It's just something we've got to do.
No. And you and I talked about, I asked Chief Check whether any outstanding grants were in between those periods, and personally, I don't believe it's worth waiting on a grant for somebody.
Well, we
The
normally,
grant program we were in before with the 50/50 grant, as we've talked about before, the last 2 or 3 years, the current federal government administration cut those monies for populations of counties over 100,000, so that's why we miss out on those extra vests we can get through them.
Sheriff, don't you normally redo so many a year in your budget?
We try to, just to budget, just
Yeah.
because they do after 5 years or so, and then they start to wear, they get to the point they need to be replaced because their body
wear and tear, and just what the individual does to everyday use and heat.
How do you clean those vests?
You can clean the outer parts, you can't clean the extra Kevlar sections that fit inside the vest. So it's you can have some issues there with certain people.
Well, in the refinery business, we're required to wear a Nomex clothing, which is a fire retardant clothing.
Right.
And they're only good for 50 washes. Once they're washed 50 times, they're no longer fire retardant. And I was just wondering if that
The actual
vest,
the Kevlar, you can't wash it. It's the outer vest, so much you got to
It's like bullet retardant.
Same thing for fire departments, even volunteer fire
Good.
departments, their fire equipment's going to last us about 5 years, then you upgrade to the next NFPA standards. Nomex fluid's the same way, you can only get so many uses out of them, and then you got to get a new one.
Sheriff, my concern was where the auditor is supposed to take that money out of, and that she's taking that out of fuel.
I believe that's from the money that we had left over from last year, is that right, Judge?
Yes, sir.
It is. We didn't use all the fuel that we anticipated last year. So that's because of the decrease in the price of the fuel. So
Judge.
It's such a fluid
But
budget.
how are you going back to last year when all that money that was left over goes back to general
No,
fund?
He's just looking at how much was used. We budgeted this amount, you spent this amount.
Yeah.
Fuel prices are still below what we had budgeted before in anybody getting fuel. We haven't done that correction factor on the fuel because no one knows what the fuel price is going to be. So he's just looking at historically, he should
Yeah,
have that
well,
much money.
okay, not that it's going,
No,
that
not
we're
that he's
getting the
reaching
money
back
from.
in 2000.
Yeah, okay.
No, we're not going back in time. We're predicting the way the price of fuel is at this
Right.
time.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a big terrorist act over in Saudi Arabia places, it's an excuse for producers to jack the price up, obviously. Right now, we're doing good.
Okay.
Judge, I make a motion, we approve the quote from Galls in the amount of $5434.92 for 7 tactical vests, 1 tactical outer vest, plus shipping to be paid from 100.560.3453 public safety equipment and 100.560.3602 fuel.
Second.
Thanks, sir. Motion by Commissioner Mahler, second by Commissioner Gonzalez to approve the item as stated. Any other comment or question? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 6, discuss, consider, take action to approve one of 2 quotes for Holders Jewelry's for 2016 Employee Service Awards to be paid from 100.404 .4253 service awards are from appropriate lines determined from the county auditor. First quote talks about buying 4 men's and 4 women's watches at $199 each, plus shipping, coming up to a total of $1,632, or buying 6 watches. And here's the key thing: the previous ones at 4 each are $199, at 6 they're $177. If you buy all the watches at that price, you actually get 1 1/3 watches paid for out of that savings. And we will have people hit those marks. That exceeds the number that we think should be there for this year and into next year. But I wanted the court to make a decision on that simply because I thought it was worth looking at the savings.
I think it is worth looking at the savings.
Judge, who is over these awards? I mean,
That's the HR department that keeps the schedule on those, and court passed the policy on the amounts to be allowed for the different years of service. And we reviewed that during the budget time. So if you know, that's kind of an annual to look at the program. Okay.
well, we would certainly think that the second quote is a more advantageous quote.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
It's a budgeted item, is it not, Judge?
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
Let me say one thing that I learned this morning that may be a contributing factor, especially what you just said, Commissioner Watts. So far for this year, we've had 4 men and 2 women confirm that they do want watches. So we're going to have at least the minimum order. But I still have in 2000, between now and 2000, into 2017, I do still have 3 men and 4 women who are not committed. If each and every one of those do commit, and they probably won't, but if they were, I would need probably a total of 7 men and 7 women at max. But then again, I could always go back and order them again if we decided on the minimum order today.
Judge, I'd make the motion that we approve the quote number 2.
Yes, sir.
And I would second that.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Harvey to approve quote number 2 for the additional watches. Any other comments on those? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 7 is discuss, consider, take action to authorize Human Resources Office to purchase 144 coffee cups for 1-year employee service awards for 2016 at $395 each for a total cost of $568.80 to be paid from 100.404.4253 service awards or from appropriate line as determined by the county auditor. Mr. Gray.
This is obviously just exactly like the watch order. Even though it does say 2016, we should have some residual that will go into 2017. And of course, you never know. Somebody on the Commissioner Court could always come to me and say, can I have some for some dignitaries or visitors or something? But the ones that I've identified here today are basically just for the employees who will be getting those. We average about 70 or 75 people per year that get their 1-year service award, which is the coffee cup. But it'll, in reality, got a little bit extra built in just in case we had to give some of those out to visitors.
Judge, this is a budgeted item. I'd make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mahler, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the item as stated. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you very much.
Item number 8, discuss, consider, take action to authorize the emergency management office to purchase materials, parts, and labor to reconfigure the sheriff's office repeater to operate on a different frequency and reinstall at an alternate location and program 238 mobile portable radios at a cost of $13,685 to be paid from transfer from general fund contingencies to appropriate lines as determined by the county auditor. Mr. Burgoyne, do you want to speak?
Lee, that's a little more expensive than coffee cups.
Judge, let me interject
Yes,
one
sir.
second. First, on item 8 and 9, would it be inappropriate if we scheduled a workshop for those? I just feel inadequate to address these needs on top of and in lieu of a radio system coming down the road towards us. In a very quick capacity, I might add, that we hope to, at the very first of the year, in less than 9 months maybe, be there. But I would like to understand thoroughly the absolute need and how that folds into our new and upcoming radio.
Okay, we did have, tell me if I'm wrong, I thought we had a work session that you came and explained what this would do. Now, we have 2 of us have met with, Commissioner Harvey and I have met pretty regularly with the Sheriff's Department, Mr. Burgoyne, with Dwayne from Mobile Phone, and we've met with the people from Motorola that's compatible with the DPS system that they are approaching us on that. And I agree, we're moving towards that.
But I thought the work session we had was on the new system, Motorola,
We did.
and didn't cover these items. I'm in the dark on these items.
Judge, I sat in on one of those meetings when Commissioner Harvey was not there, so I understand the deal, but I don't think Commissioner Watts was ever included in that discussion.
Okay. The only thing I'm going to say on this, and I've listened on, and I know the problem, what the sheriff is very concerned about, and what this will provide is a short-term fix to the reliability level. Right now, if I'm an officer outside of my vehicle and I key up my lapel mic because of the change in the way the banding system is set up and the change in the frequencies being compacted and the amount of noise, I used to be able to sit during some kind of a deal at my home, turn on my portable, leave it right there while I was working, and I could talk. I don't think it's getting out of my house anymore because of the change in the system. That is no big deal for me not to be able to get on the radio. I can call on the phone. But what I am concerned is for all of our officers that most of the time that they're engaging somebody, they're outside that vehicle and they are not in a very good, reliable situation. The big system we're looking at, they have surveyed the county, and other than in some, if you look at their map, they've made it blue, completely covering the county, other than a little speck here or there that they can't guarantee 95% reliability on that. What this does, and we don't have something, we didn't spend the money to look at it to try to say what the reliability is. Lee has gone around, we have a frequency we're going to rent from mobile phone plus the tower space. They're offsetting it. They're letting us keep the unit we have at the current location that we're paying just less than $400 a month. They will waive that charge, and that'll be part of that location, and this new location on the tower for the other equipment will be the $1,500 a month. Motorola, meanwhile, has engaged us that if they are looking at absorbing this cost for the radio unit, not the programming and that, but they are looking at absorbing some of that cost for us. We can have a work session and go on farther, but I am concerned as we keep delaying this.
But would it not be prudent to 1 week and have a open discussion about that? Where I'm just at a loss, and I was under the impression what you had just said, but then I asked Lee about that last week, and he said he was not aware of the offset that we'd received from Motorola towards
in our work
that.
session, he made that clear that he didn't catch that, and so we made a phone call and talked to them. And matter of fact, I have not heard back.
No, I haven't either. But they said they would get us some figures back on that. The other thing I will say, and we can have the work session, Commissioner, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't want us to linger. But the other thing, quite honestly, as I looked at that contract, and it may be the same contract that we signed years ago, there's some things that Ms. Kennedy has taught me about contracts that won't fly past her on that, and one of them has to do with indemnification. We cannot indemnify anybody. There's some minor things to clear up in it. I don't see that, but it would not. I think it's going to take us a week or so to get that cleaned up. You all agree to it. So your
well, that's on the tower rental, right, Judge?
I mean, I can make myself available at whatever time we wanted set and move.
Could we move it to the work session today, Judge?
I think you have to post it.
Well, I mean,
no, we could just move the item down if that's what you'd like to do.
Okay.
If that would fit everybody's.
I know, I just have some questions. I hate to labor the court on all my questions, and I mean, I may be every bit we need to move forward immediately on that.
It gets into noise on the channels that we're operating now, and a test that they've done as to what this new addition will alleviate some of that. I mean, it's fairly involved as far as why we think we need to move that way.
I don't see, we have the item. If you all can come back this afternoon and we can talk about that. We have some other items scheduled ahead of that. One is a closed session that will take place at 1:30. The other one then is general discussion on precinct road inventory and road projects.
And that's quick. I mean, we can push it if we need to.
Okay. And then we have the discussion on the possible purchase of those vehicles. And that could come after that.
What is that, trucks?
Trucks, yes, sir.
Okay, yes, and if all of it needed to be scooped to make room for this, I'd be glad to change it.
But we can move it, can we not, since it's on the agenda? If we just recess, we recess, we stay in session.
Yeah, no, we don't have a problem with doing that, because that is that item on there to get more, and that's just part of the discussion, so I don't.
Depends on whether these guys can
Yeah, well, they both nodded. They
adjust
could.
to us. So,
Yeah.
Ms. Kennedy, do you have any feeling for how long in that closed session?
Angela, it shouldn't take very long, it's just a broken window.
Okay. Oh, okay, I know the one you're talking about. Okay. So I would think we'd be ready by, and that's going to depend on how we finish up today. Okay, then we'll delay that, and I appreciate that conciliation, Commissioner. We'll talk about the tower at the same time, but I don't think that, if we do that, then it's all part of it. But that'll explain that location. But I did want y'all to know that if we pass that item, then it would be with review by the Ms. Kennedy and then county judge's signature on it. Okay. Okay, and then I have had a request to remove item number 10. Is that still correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Item number 11 is discuss, consider, take action to authorize county judge to sign an agreement with Webfire Communications Incorporated and NEC for telecommunications services in the amount of $389,350, including a 5-year software warranty, and authorize the transfer of up to $72,500 from general fund contingencies, 100.409.4902 to cover the 2016 payments to NEC to line items determined by the county auditor. Commissioner Watts?
Yes, Judge, I know that we've discussed this now numerous times. We had a presentation last week by Ripley concerning this. We're excited about the opportunity, I think, and I just want to reiterate the fact that we had a unanimous decision by the IT department, our county attorney, and that is our current phone operator in our department. We reviewed what we had before us. We understand we have a need to improve our current equipment, which is 27 years old. The savings, I want to be clear, the savings are immediate. They are $50,000 per year over the next 10 years. And so this is a extremely vigorous upgrade for what we're used to dealing with from a phone standpoint in Wichita County. It allows us to do more above and beyond what we've ever done. It's going to take $1 million cost to us that would exist over the next 10 years, leaving our phone system as it is, and replace it with $500,000 equipment and charges combined. So over the next 10 years, we will save $500,000 by upgrading to new equipment. And I might add that it is state-of-the-art new equipment, that it is the top-of-the-line version of what we can bring into this courthouse and feasibly afford. So I would, with that, Judge, like to make the motion that we move forward with our phone program.
All right, thanks, sir. Is there a second? Yeah, I'll second. Any other discussion?
Judge, I know y'all had really wrestled with this, and I appreciate your work on this, Jeff, but this is really something that's long overdue. I know that the catchphrase, I guess, in municipal and county government, we're always looking for an offset. Well, we got an offset. This 27-year-old system has already outlived its operational efficiency. The offset's already there. This ends up being a customer service issue. It ends up being a public relations issue. And I think this purchase, along with what George and Ashley have done with IT in the last couple of years, it just does wonders for the work environment. I mean, and again, we're trying to serve a population base of 134,000, and we've got 500 employees in county government. So I certainly appreciate y'all's support, win, lose, or draw on this, but I think as far as the cost-benefit analysis that Jeff's run on it, I really think there's not a whole lot to think about. We're well overdue for a phone system.
I'd also like to thank you guys for taking this into consideration. As you know, I've emailed a couple times on our system out there. And Lee, let me tell you, don't think I didn't check to see if we could have an answering machine. There's no way. We checked everything, and that was back after me. So we appreciate you guys looking into this. We really do. Thank you.
Oh, those two guys sitting in the office came up with that idea.
Yeah.
He just-
Yes, I just didn't say
We
anything
thought
to
it was
him.
kind of funny.
Huh?
We thought it was funny.
Ah.
We were being cute. Well, we're not cute. No.
It wasn't the second time.
Oh,
The first time I went like, oh, and then the second time I went like, I've got to reply to this. So Woody got the blunt of it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I got, yeah. Okay.
Mission accomplished.
Any other comments?
well, I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but I just feel like that for the benefit of the county, that we should probably take our new scope and go out for bids to multiple different vendors. The scope has been reduced substantially, and I think for the benefit of Wichita County, we should go out for bids and just reject all these bids and go out with our new scope and our new RFP and see if we can even better the deal that we make for Wichita County.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Call for the vote then. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nope.
Oh.
Passes 3-2. Okay. We are down. Thank you all, and thanks for the hard work. Let's go to item 12, is discuss and review jail work orders.
Oh, I got those. I printed those.
Yeah, thanks.
There was just 2 pages. Kind of probably could have put it on one.
I don't know if I brought mine, Lee. Did we have a, had it Friday?
There was I didn't print the email part of it, but
I looked at it Friday.
it had 50, I'm trying to do it by memory. We cleared up 29 work orders this week. The majority of those work orders were plumbing. And I wish I'd have printed that other piece of paper.
I was disappointed not to see the cleared paper.
Yeah, well, a lot of our stuff has to do with some electrical issues with our lighting. Darrell said that about sometimes once a year, they'll go buy like 800 light bulbs and go through there and get a work crew together and just attack it. Seems to be, the lighting is out, it's been reported, there's still adequate lighting in the room, but.
It's a burned down bulb.
Right, so as you get enough of them to buy in bulk, and then get your team together, it's just a more efficient way to handle that. So you'll see a lot of lighting issues on there that we will negate once we get a plan put together, which there's no lights that are out that are causing any issues. There's just like in this room here, all these lighting, there might be 2 bulbs out in this room. So there'll be a work order saying that there's 2 bulbs out. Still see just fine.
Still function.
Right. So that's really what we're seeing. You agree with that, Sheriff? Yeah.
There's not any major security issues with some of the lighting.
Right.
Are we changing to LEDs as we go, Sheriff? We've
No,
not started that.
not yet, no.
We have started doing the conversion here in the courthouse, but that's something we'll have to address. But once again, this goes to where we're headed with that facility.
Yeah.
That's
Just how
correct.
far
I
we
would say
went.
in the new facility, we do everything LED.
Yeah.
Save a lot more money and, a lot less labor intensive work, the amount of lights we have. And right now, I would suggest.
Well, good news is that the list is still paring down and the number of days are getting quite a bit smaller. So there's major progress continuing to be made. We'll continue to whittle on it. And as we move through with this shower deal, we're going to be whittling off
hopefully
some of the plumbing issues and some of the major deals. So progress continues.
But Sheriff, on the cell doors, there's several, they're just issues. It's like you can mash a button and release all these doors. There's a couple of them that won't release. You gotta go and undo them with the key, okay? But we have a vendor that's coming to work on those.
That's correct.
He's in that, he can deal with that manufacturing.
Right, he's the one that deals with the manufacturer of those particular locking mechanisms.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
That's the same guy that's working on the panel?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Are we still able to get the panel parts that we're needing so far, Sheriff? I know we've had to build some and,
So far,
yeah.
it's, you know, every time something goes out, they continue telling us that.
Well, that's the panel downtown. The panel out at the annex is, it's a touchscreen deal. It's still supported out there. Our main issue with the panel is
The jail here.
the 150-year-old panel that we have down here that was squirrel cage. You gotta get a new squirrel.
You remember, we have 3 of them down here. One
Right.
on each program.
Well,
They
once
are-
again, a lot of that kind of stuff comes down to how far is the finish line away? You know, we just, and as we know more about that, we'll be able to make a better decision.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about it is,
Obviously, we've learned over the years of new construction, you have one control room that controls everything inside the jail, instead of having to have 3 different control panels. And, you know, that was early 80s technology. And,
So when it's broke, they're all broke.
no, not necessarily up downtown, just, it's just if it's broke, can you find the part, can you get the part?
Right.
That's where we're at right now. So that's.
Lieutenant Bonham actually said he's had to go to Radio Shack and buy a little.
They've got a lot now.
Yeah, I know.
There's too long now, we're not there anymore, I don't think, but, yeah, it's been that bad. So, and you know, we've had issues even recently where some of the locks, some of the doors just locked up, and we had to have the vendor come in and help take care of that. We're not having to manually key everything.
Yeah.
You know, to get into an emergency situation, you can't
Yeah.
manually key enough doors fast enough. And so fortunately, we haven't had any major issue like that.
Sheriff, how do you feel? What's your opinion on how well we're doing attacking these?
Well, we're doing as good as we can with inmate work crews and what maintenance people we have. We don't have one maintenance guy we've got hired, you know, for the jail, and he's still learning. So the inmate workers and the crews with those guys, it's slow, but we're coming along. You know, we still have a lot of plumbing issues, obviously, and the plumbers are being negating those type of issues. We have other projects in line still, the air units, the air handler units that go on the roof. So it's a work in progress. It's kind of like watching lava. You know, it's slow, but we're getting there. And, you know, and hopefully, you know, and report everything to the jail commission, let our inspector know what we're doing. So hopefully it's going to be enough to be able to satisfy the jail commission. And once we come in inspection, obviously the biggest thing is the roof is the biggest issue.
Yes.
And that's where we're
And
at.
we're doing it with a near full house, and that's always a challenge.
We do have 25 people out. We have a female that's been housed out of county in Archer County because she is handicapped in a wheelchair, and our jail is not ADA compliant. So their jail was built with those facilities to do that. So Sheriff Peasinger, she graciously said she'd be happy to help us out with that. So
Why are the other prisoners out right now?
some of them are either work that's going on in the cells. That's pretty much all of it. Not because of leaks right now. It's pretty much because of work that's going on that we're taking care of. That may not be for all of the case. I'll have to actually check with.
Well, that's okay. I just
Bob
wondered
today.
if they were displaced because of the roof.
Right. There were, I think some of them were originally, but not as big as it. We shuffled around inside to keep that many going out. But we do have some issues still with the inside the cells that we're having to deal with.
And our average daily cost, is it 40, is it 50, is it 55?
Right now, I think it's what I'm saying about it's $38.50. Is that right, Judge? I think we've discussed it.
Something like that, yeah.
It's in that ballpark.
It depends on where you have them.
Yeah, we have some that they want 50, and we're just trying to get it to the cheaper ones right now. Not that it's cheaper jail, but it's just the price that they're charging.
So it's just under $1,000 a day. Just to run some quick numbers, for 25 folks at $38.50 a day, it's $962 times 5. How long have these people been out of the jail?
At least a couple weeks.
This one here, so let's just do 14. That's $13,475.
Right.
It would not take long displacing prisoners because of a leaking roof to pay for a new roof.
If we have And I kind of look at the worst-case scenario, if, we've discussed this in other meetings, if we get a lot of still serious roof issues at the annex, and the jail commission comes in, and they decide, this is not something that's been discussed, but, I mean, if they decide, we're gonna close this facility, and it's, at least 325 inmates, we've already done the math on that, it's about $16,000 a day, $500,000 a month, so it could add up.
Do you think that they can justly close our annex right now?
Commissioner, I have been present in the jail commission meetings, and Bob watched them strip away 1,200 beds from one jail, 1,000 beds from another jail, and that's immediately move them out right that day.
I know, but what was
Yes,
their
yes,
justification? What was their justification for doing that?
Health and safety and life issue, sanitary reasons. So last jail meeting I went
Do
to.
we find our jail in the same conditions that those jails are in?
Not under life and safety, but sanitary because of the leaks from the roof. That does cause a sanitary. And I've been asked questions about, is there mold? If there's any mold at all, and we're not finding any mold. But if it develops into mold because of the humidity, because we've solved some of those problems, obviously.
Right.
Then the mold is something they'll immediately close it down.
How soon are we looking at those AC units being replaced? Because you did a
They're
great
already
job.
done.
Yeah,
They're done.
They're done.
Yeah, they've been working on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, are they done? Are they in place, or are we using them, or?
They're operational.
Okay. Are we seeing a change?
they've got it going.
Are we seeing a
Yes.
change in the humidity situation?
We addressed that previous to that.
Right.
These units were replaced for efficiency.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
the units that we replaced were very old. All the electronics had been bypassed. The coils were plugged up. These units, the humidity had already been addressed. These units are something we got from the 1033 program. That who was it, Brian Connor, that got that for us?
Sergeant Prince.
Oh, Garland Prince, okay.
He's in
Anyway,
control of our 1033.
he really did get hit a home run. And these are a lot newer units, and I'm going to use a layman's term for you. The SEER rating on these are a lot better than what we had.
Correct. But now what do we have an ongoing maintenance program to make sure that the coils stay clean and all of that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Because that's.
Texoma? Texoma.
Okay.
Well, and to answer your question, Judge, yeah, they're gonna help, just having a more efficient unit in there.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Trying to address our.
But it will become
electric bill.
inefficient if it's not maintained. And if you don't
Absolutely.
keep coils
Absolutely.
clean, you lose everything.
Well, and we all know the whole county system, we talked about it. You only have 4 or 5 maintenance guys trying to take care of all these buildings. We're way behind the 8 ball, so we're trying to correct that.
Well, and that's why we're looking at contracting some more of the services.
Contract.
In those areas that can be defined, and I think we're going to make headway there.
I agree with you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are down to the part of public comment. Anyone have anything to bring up in the audience? Officials, we do have a luncheon that we're supposed to be at, part of us at least at 12.
Judge, I just want to say that the
11:30.
Pumpkin Center Volunteer Fire Department fundraiser was a great success. It was a fun time, and lots of area people attended, and I appreciate all of y'all taking the time to come out. Commissioner Harvey, you cooked all day long, and I appreciate that. And the rest of you.
I had the easy part. This guy over here worked his tail off. I stirred the beans every few minutes. But
The rest of y'all had commitments earlier in that day, but then came out afterwards, and I really appreciate y'all doing that, and I know that those folks in that part of the county do as well, so thank you very much for that. It was a success.
they did raise approximately $6,000, which was about $4,000 less than they did last year. So they're still a little short on their fundraising. So if you think about you got some extra money you just want to give away, just consider our volunteer fire departments.
Well, and on that, Commissioner, I want to add that the judge understands the fee that insurance collects from us in the state of Texas, everyone that has homeowners, and I'd like to understand that deeper and see if there's any avenues there that our departments in the county can take advantage of. So I'm excited to learn more about that.
I think that's something we need to get Representative Frank sent the rest of his office on. There was a lady I went to with that. It was his legislative person who's no longer in that office, and she never got to that on her list last year. But now's the time to work on that with them because they are not covered up with 6,000 bills.
Right.
So, yeah. Anything else? All right. It is 11:41, and we will recess to reconvene at 1:30.